have a disposable income. How dare you? How dare you, sir? Actually, that's a beautiful belt. That was actually my favorite World Championship.
That's right.
That was the best one. All right, hold on. I have some people who actually wanted the direct link, so
sweet.
I gotta send it to them. We're just starting the stream. No one expects us to be hit early.
We are live, baby.
We are live. So, Steve, it's 70 degrees where you're at. I'm just getting over a cold, so that's been great.
It's 70 degrees and it's hot as shit.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I got this low body fat thing going on right now, man. Cause
I'm getting there, man.
Because with the coach before, he didn't really have me doing much cardio until the end. So a lot of people who are former teammates of mine and actually who moved on from the same coach that I moved on from, they're all like, dude, you look now how you would on stage. Now, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration because I'm 10 pounds bigger than I was from the last show, but still, it was mucho appreciated.
I was doing my cardio last night, man. I'm freaking ramping it up.
Ramping up the cardio. Like, what do you do for cardio?
Well, so I do, on a lifting night, which is pretty much every night except, I'll take an off day every now and then. Like tonight, 20 to 30 minutes on the elliptical, depending on the night, although I'm adding to that now. Sometimes I'll do rowing machine if I really want to, do something different, change it up, do the martial arts training. So that gives me a different kind of cardio. And then I'll do some high intensity sets as well. So like I'll do like burpees followed by just straight push-ups and then roll over and get into like crucifix crunches and things of that nature.
Nice.
I like to change it up because if you just do elliptical every night or you just do freaking treadmill every night, it gets boring as shit.
Oh, dude, that's why you know this because you've been training with me for over a year now. Like there's a reason why I change everybody's workouts every 2 weeks just so you don't get bored with it. And then sometimes I'll even just randomly put bodybuilders on circuits and they're like, why am I doing a circuit? I'm like, so you maintain your maintain your sanity, bro.
Circuits are awesome, man. I love circuits.
No, circuits are good. I usually do those closer to showtime because when you get to like a body fat percentage that your body was just not meant to be at and you don't have the genetic disposition to be shredded year round, like you're not a Tristan Lee type of human being. At that point, you're really just trying to stay active, maintain as much lean tissue as you possibly can, and just keep the stress on your muscles without injuring yourself. Because what I'm fascinated, what I'm going to be very interested in with this pro wrestling training is because right now I'm already at a point where I got to be on my game with my vitamins and everything because I'm basically an exposed motherboard, so a speck of dust could just fuck up the whole system. But it's gonna be like, all right, when I get to like 168, what's a bump gonna feel like? Like what's hitting those ropes gonna feel like? Am I gonna feel all of it? Am I gonna feel none of it?
I don't know, man. Your back's pretty well defined. Those lats are looking good, man. So I think when you hit those ropes, it's not like you're gonna break a rib. It's not like it's not like your stick man over there,
No, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, there's armor involved, right? And you're more prone to injury in terms of lifting when you have less body fat. So I'm just wondering, just that high impact, high collision, because ultimately, I mean, I think that's what. And that's why we're starting to see all these gnarly injuries in the UFC, especially at the lighter weight classes, because you got grown men who are fighting at they got rid of the bantamweights and the flyweights, but it's like, or the flyweights, I should say. But most grown men were not designed to be at 135, and most of the dudes who fight in the UFC were not designed to be at 135. That's why you're like, damn, those guys are big at 135. It's like, no, they're in that cage at 160.
Oh, yeah.
I think ultimately the weight cuts year after year are what fucked Conor up ultimately, or what did him in, because
I thought it was getting his leg kick checked.
Well, that, but I mean, Connor, throughout his whole career, he never checked a single leg kick in his life, which was why, and neither has John Jones, which is why I'm always shocked by never seeing those dudes, like, because here's the thing, if John Jones has those little skinny chicken legs, why does nobody kick him? And then if Connor carries himself like a traditional martial artist, why not just freaking kick those legs as many times as possible, because he's not going to check them. So I think that was a part of his game that never developed. But then again, it never really had to, because he just had a style that worked for him, and then he was always just freaking bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody up until the end.
Yeah, and I think that there's certainly a culture with some fighters where they're, leg kick. If you're leg kicking all the time, it's boring, right? So you want to go for flashier knockouts or flashier submissions and shit like that. When, hey, you've trained martial arts, you understand it's just repeating the basics over and over and over and over.
Well, yeah, but I completely understand that. But then again, it's like we were all intrigued by Chael Sonnen based off of his mic skills, right? Most of the fighters, and I think Dominic Cruz said this on Joe Rogan a few years back that made the most sense. It's like we're at a stage where, yeah, you need to have the skills to be a great fighter to be in the UFC, but it means about this much in term. It basically just cracks the door open for you. Your actual money is made by what you can do on that microphone, and if you can draw enough attention to get people in. That's why, sorry, just a second. That's why I think the UFC handled CM Punk's, just his entire fight career, completely the wrong way. I think they should have utilized his microphone skills to get him more fights, and then what they should have done was keep him away from anybody who knew what the hell they were doing for at least 2 or 3 fights to build him up, get him some confidence, and then start putting the Mike Jacksons in front of him, the Mickey Galls probably later down the road in his career. But I think, he wasn't terrible. He just was not ready to be in the UFC against the guys they wanted to put him up with. But if they would have just let him beat a couple people,
that's
let him use.
That's Dana's fault, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I also blame the Rufus camp as well, because CM Punk was the draw. He was the name. If they would have said, no, he's not fighting unless we get these 3 guys, one of these 3 guys, knowing like what kind of a crowd Punk draws in a place like Chicago and in the Midwest, Dana would have fought a little bit about it, but then he'd be like, well, this guy's fucking 0-0 with no experience anyways. It's already a freak show. I mean, I think there was a point where Jason David Frank, the fucking Green Power Ranger, who is a legit martial artist, by the way, MMA fighter, he wanted to fight CM Punk. I was like, why not have a build-up to that fight? Because then that's something that people would want to see, and you're bringing in crowds that are not quite MMA fans.
Sure. I mean, but it all depends on what they were trying to accomplish with Punk, right? So, if they were trying to actually see if he had a legit opportunity to be a UFC fighter, after that first fight, they should have been like, okay, you need to take a long hiatus. We need to take you back to, go back to camp. We need to get you some tomato cans. But they didn't do that. I think what they should have done, I mean, all due respect to CM Punk. I love CM Punk. We're going to talk about CM Punk later. Love CM Punk.
He's the biggest. He's the second biggest thing in pro wrestling right now.
And hey, all the power to him, because to get into the cage like that, when all you have to, he had very little to gain and everything to lose from going in there and getting smashed, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's why I give him more respect than a lot of people, because he was in 2 fights he should have never fucking been in.
Especially that first one.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to maximize it, then treat it like what it is. It's a money grab. It's a freak show. And see if you can get some other name athlete who doesn't necessarily have a UFC background or a fighting background, and put them in the cage together. The one that I kept thinking about was Floyd Mayweather. Get Floyd Mayweather versus CM Punk in the octagon. I'll pay for that.
I would have paid for that too. And then you have the boxing skill versus, that's something you could sell. And then I could honestly see Phil Brooks or CM Punk actually getting a double leg on Floyd and just making it interesting.
You know how much money they would have made with that fight?
Oh, bro, people paid to see Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition.
Exactly.
Like, you do it in a legit organization like the UFC, that would have just printed money.
There is a significant portion of the population that would pay to see Floyd Mayweather get his elbow smashed right in the face, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's not going to happen in a boxing ring. So like the Conor McGregor fight, the Logan Paul fight. Like, sure, like there's people that are dreaming of, he's gonna eat a punch, but he's too good in the context of a boxing match.
Yeah.
You put him in a cage where anything can happen. You know, like you said, Punk gets a double leg on him and takes him to the ground and starts ground and pounding his ass. Holy shit.
Yeah, people would go crazy because I believe James Toney had that match with Randy Couture. James Toney was a former heavyweight champion, and Randy Couture smashed him in like 50 seconds. Now, Floyd was teasing it on social media. What I think happened was he started to try to learn how to grapple, and then he was like, oh, this is different. I don't like this.
Yeah, and I think that was in the context of the McGregor fight, right? So, but if he went into the octagon against McGregor, right?
McGregor would have killed him.
We would still not have heard from the remains of Mr. Mayweather.
Oh, dude, it would have been, believe me, that's when Conor would have thrown those leg kicks because Floyd would have thrown a couple of traditional jabs. Bam! Bam, bam, 2-3 legit Muay Thai kicks to the legs. Now Floyd can't freaking move. Now he has no hips, no power. Then Conor grabs him, puts him on the mat. He doesn't know what the hell to do, and I think Conor would just freaking ground and pound him for 3 rounds, unless he just wanted to submit him real quick.
Dude, I think Conor would have played with him for 3 rounds.
I think so too. I think Conor would have probably bet on himself to go the full 3, then
or it's more emasculating for Mayweather if the referee has to step in and stop it, even though he's not beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, that's very true there. Yeah,
It's kind of like the critique of the second Punk fight, where who did he fight in the second fight? I forget.
He fought Mike Jackson, who was actually an undefeated boxer. And here was the messed up part. He had court proceedings that whole week because that was when the WWE doctor tried to sue him based off what he said on the Colt Cabana podcast. So his head just wasn't in the game because if you look at him, he looked flabby in that fight. Like, he looked way more cut, way more defined when he fought Mickey than the second fight. He wasn't in the way. But here's the thing. At least in the second fight, I thought he won the first round. And then the second...
Yeah, he was better in the second fight. But I think it got to a point where Jackson was kind of dragging it out.
That's what some people said. Some people said that Jackson likely bet on himself.
Dana said that.
Yeah.
In the post-fight press conference, he said that was bullshit. He's never going to fight here again.
Yeah, well, there was 2 things. It's like, where would Mike Jackson have gone from there to fight? But I think he wanted to be a part of Zuffa boxing because that was his background. And I'm going to take this sweater off. Just keep talking to the people at home, Steve. You're doing great. Doing great.
It's all right. I'm gonna commentate this. So Jack's taking off the sweater. There it is. Oh, there it is. He just wanted to show off the shoulders there, the upper pecs, the freaking there it is. Little double bicep action there,
bro. No, man. Like this new coach has done wonders for me. So I'm super excited.
Shoulders are looking pretty good.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, man. This is just push-pull legs, like working out each muscle group twice a week for the past 18 months, ever since I got on that split. That was the major game changer for me. And I hated it at first because I was used to traditional chest day where you walk out and your shit feels like barrel-chested. But all the major research has shown that you want to work out each muscle group at least within 3 to 6 days of each other. That's why I have you on the bro split, because I know you kind of like that kind of split going. But my favorite so far, push-pull legs. And, dude, my quads are looking like insane right now. So that's been...
Nice, man.
Yeah, and I'm getting over this freaking cold, which...
Cupid Classic, baby. 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
And we're both registered, right? I know I am.
We are both registered. I registered early for that. And you know what? I'll say it right here. This is going to be my last time competing amateur. So I will be exercising this guy that I won on my first show. So the reason why I didn't compete pro yet was because I didn't really feel like I earned this pro card, because the first lineup I was against was not very good. And then no one I was on stage with got to have a full prep because it was mid-pandemic. So you've heard it here first. On the podcast, it's going to be a loser leaves town. Loser leaves town match.
Then he's done.
Done.
Competing amateur. Done.
Competing amateur. But if I win, I'll just compete amateur every single time and just ruin it for everybody.
Well, you got to do what you got to do,
Exactly.
Big fish, little pond.
Yeah, man. But no, I this prep's been going good. Then everybody's seen my pictures like, damn, dude, you look like you're close to the show time, which is good. And then you look fantastic right now. What I'm always jealous of you, bro, you have that amazing bicep vein that goes right through. Vein, man. And even though we have the same genetics or half the same genetics, you got it, I don't. So, yep.
Yeah, I'm believe it or not, I to get back to the weight I was before the last show, I still need to lose like 15 pounds.
You'll get there. I'm not concerned
about that. I mean, I got 10 weeks. But it's the fact that there's just so much more going on upstairs this time.
Yeah,
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I'm trying not to look too far down the road, but I'm like, I mean, I lose 2 pounds a week. I'm good,
Exactly. And then what happened?
Mass,
Yeah, no, dude, you'll maintain it, because there's like two extremes that people go to, especially in amateur and natural shows. It's either they don't do cardio or they push the cardio to the point that the enhanced guys do, not realizing that the reason why the enhanced guys are able to do that is because they're on a bunch of fucking gear. So they're able to maintain that muscle mass over time. So me, I'm like right in the middle. So even though I'm doing an hour of cardio a night, it's me walking my dogs for an hour. It's not like I'm fucking doing HIIT cardio or anything like that.
No. So continuous cardio, keeping the heart rate between like that 145, 150 range.
Yeah.
I do that for about 25 to 35 minutes a night. And then the rest of the time, it's either stop and go in like a martial arts class, or going for a walk somewhere, take like a 2-mile walk or something that keeps you a little bit active, keeps the blood pumping, but isn't necessarily like running 2 straight hours where you're just burning off all kinds of muscle.
Oh yeah, dude. And excuse me. What I'm loving these days is like, do you have TikTok, right?
Supposedly.
Do you ever, if you ever go through the feed and you're ever sucked into fitness TikTok, what you'll come to understand is if you just wear a white lab coat, you could say whatever dumb shit you want to say, and all of a sudden, boom, you get like 100,000 likes and everybody believes what you want to say, because nobody just wants to accept the fact that if you want to get shredded, you got to be in a deficit and you got to work your ass off. Really, that's the only way. Yeah, and you got to maintain your protein.
Dude, everyone wants something for nothing. I mean,
yeah.
If I could look, jacked and shredded and eat fucking pizza every night, I'd be doing that shit.
Oh, dude. By the way, that's the one meal I want, so we need to fuck up some really good pizza after we do our shows.
That is guaranteed. As a matter of fact, we're going to have a significantly large fan club for this show because the room, my palatial estate there on the Strip in Las Vegas, is going to be packed to the gills.
Dude, we are going to have, I mean, yeah, because I think all the siblings are going to be there.
There is going to be an appearance by Mama Slammer.
Mama Slammer is going to be there. Slammer is going to be there.
Which that's a bad term in the wrong context. You could be a Mama Slammer.
I think if you go through my quote-unquote history, I would probably be classified as a Mama Slammer.
Motherfucker. No. Well, yes. No, but there'll be the entire Slammer clan will be there.
The entire Slammer clan is going to be there. That's why I have to, like, that's why I'm coming in peeled for this one.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely extra motivation now, you know. And that's why I'm growing out the Rocky training in Siberia beard here. So as between now and February, I'm just going to keep growing this bad boy out. And then, you know, the day before, when we got to go get, you know, all tanned up.
Yeah.
I'm going to rip the picture off the mirror, yell Drago.
Oh, dude, that's beautiful.
This freaking thing off. And then be like, shit, I should have kept it on.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I had it going, and it was starting to get like bad to where it was. Plus, I just did the no shave November thing. I always puss out towards the end of November because
the ladies dig the beard, man. I'm telling you.
Dude, they most certainly do because I actually look my age and they don't feel like they're hitting on like a fucking 22-year-old. But unless they have that Mrs. Robinson thing going on, so that's its own thing.
That's why Macho Man was so popular with the ladies. It was the beard, brother. Yeah,
bro, it was the whole persona with Macho Man, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the guy was like walking charisma, and then I can't envision a world where Macho Man was not pulling like mad pussy. Like, I just can't see it in my head.
After Elizabeth, sure.
Oh, post Elizabeth, he was probably like, yeah, I think I'm just going to play the field, brother, you know? Gonna get some coffee.
Post Elizabeth, I think he was everything in sight.
Yeah, man, because, you know, the one... Up until he met the... so I think he got married late in life before he had his...
like his high school
heart attack. Yeah, it was a girlfriend he had when he was playing minor league baseball, I want to say for Cleveland. That's at least what the documentary said, or I'm paraphrasing. Maybe I had it wrong, but...
Was it the Reds? I thought it was one of the Chicago... it doesn't matter.
Well, he played for 4 different teams. He just couldn't get out of single A. But apparently what his brother Lonnie Poffo said about him as a baseball player, he didn't say he was a talented athlete. He said he was a well-practiced athlete. So he was one of those guys who just had to work for everything.
Well, God knows if the genius said it, it has to be correct.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing, dude. So you watch the 2 different biographies on the Macho Man, right? You had the A&E one, and then you had the one that the WWE produced. And they used the same footage and the same interviews for the AE ones. And I know that they misconstrued some of the things that Lonnie had said because Lonnie was always so high on Randy, never said a bad word about him.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like... They caught something where, like, some of his moments, you know, where they kind of lead you on, like, well, wouldn't you say that Randy could just be a little much, is probably the way they answered the question. And then, because one of the answers he gave was something along, I'm paraphrasing here, but he was like, yeah, you know, Randy could be a little crazy from time to time, or something like that, when, you know, a guy... I mean...
Can you imagine if you know, back in the late 80s, it's like, man, you meet Randy Savage somewhere and he's like, hey, brother, you want to hang out? And it's just like, yeah. And then it's like, you want to come over to my apartment and drink some tea and listen to some Fish records? And you're just like, wait, what?
Oh, nah, man. I could, I think later on, bro, you had to have been like a freaking over 210-pound man if you wanted to hang out with that crew with how hard they partied. Like,
Come on, brother, you want to come over to my place after the matches, yeah, and do some meditation and ponder the mysteries of life, brother, yeah.
or do you just want to do some cocaine? Because that dude couldn't even wait. Cup of coffee, man, yeah. Dude, the guy, like, come on, man. Like, people can say, oh, I'm a rock. Yeah, man, we were rock stars. We were this. I'm like, bro, were you ever such a bad motherfucker that you couldn't be bothered to wait 60 seconds to do more cocaine, and you had to actually do it on live national television with your back turned, with Mean Gene Okerlund trying to play it completely straight? But what would be funny is if we learned later on that Mean Gene was doing coke with him, because that would just make me like Mean Gene even more.
I think Mean Gene had to do coke at some point. I mean,
I think it was the 80s and everybody did that shit, man. Like, I think it was just a recreational drug that people didn't know a lot about, and it was just the party drug. People used it to, what was that Office joke where Michael Scott's like, it was the 80s. We didn't know what we know now about cocaine. Let's just say we sold a lot of paper. But
yes.
Yeah, but dude, that'd be crazy, because time travel could be something that's discovered within this lifetime, right? So
we're traveling through time right now.
Well, if you had the option, right? Like, let's say you can pick one historical figure, you go back in time, and you get to actually just have a 10-minute conversation with them, anybody you wanted. Or you go back and you get to tell your 13-year-old self 2 clues that could potentially make your life significantly better now. Which one would you take?
Well, I mean, if I had it, if I could go back and give 13-year-old me, Gray's Sports Almanac, I'd go do that.
That's true. No, if I could go back to 2012 and be like, all right, look, take all your money and buy Bitcoin right now. Dude, somebody posted a funny meme. It was like, I could have bought Bitcoin when it was worth $7, but I bought it today and it was worth $38,000.
Dude, forget Bitcoin for a minute. That Shibu coin.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, a couple of weeks ago, if you had invested $1 in that before it spiked, you would have been a millionaire.
Yep.
If you sold it off, which is nuts.
Yeah, man.
I own like 400,000 of them now, which is like $20. I'm like, can it spike again, please?
I own a couple of coins like that. Polymatic I didn't get too early into, but I got early enough, so I bought it at 75 cents. It's up to like $2.50 now. I bought Safe Moon, which what's cool about Safe Moon, now I think they'll actually need some a purpose behind their underlying technology if they actually want to go somewhere, but what they do is kind of cool. So to avoid a big spike, everybody sell their shit and move on. What they do is they reward their holders. So if you hold on to the coin, 5% gets distributed amongst all the owners based on every single purchase. So I started off with like 10 million Safe Moon coins, and now I have 15 million by just, investing $150 like a year ago, and or around when Dogecoin was popular and Elon was about to go on SNL. But yeah, man, that I think honestly a good way, if you want to have like a content user-centric website, you need to create your own cryptocurrency and use that as a reward system, because I think the EXP days are done. No one cares about badges anymore. But I feel like kind of like what Brave did with their browser, where if you just use their browser, you get coin.
Yep.
You can do that with your own cryptocurrency, and then that's what I'm thinking about doing with the Slammer Fitness application. So turn everybody who uses the application into miners for that application, but make the algorithm simple enough to where CPU instead of GPU can handle it, so that way it's not going to melt your freaking phone.
Yeah.
But in addition to being able to share your progress and like kind of fulfill all these needs that we have as people who are hardcore into fitness in one application, also be like, hey, getting into shape also gets you cryptocurrency, which could make you could get rich getting in shape. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, because I know how to make a cryptocurrency. It's just the upkeep on it, the governance, and that sort of thing. But once I figure that part out, I think that's the route for the Slammer Fitness app.
I dig it.
Dig it, brother. Yeah. Well, because it's like people want to get paid for their time now, man. Like Andrew Yang, that was the guy's name who basically had that funny quote during I want to say the DNC primaries.
Yeah, he ran for the Democratic nomination.
Yeah, so I remember someone's like, well, what about climate change? Well, it's too late for climate change, so we need to move our people to higher ground, baby. I was like...
He was the one that was pushing universal basic income.
Yes, that was the guy.
And then he ran for mayor of New York City and got crushed.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's certain things you say that will get you media coverage. Like, hey, free money. But then educated voters are going to be like, well, nothing's actually free. So...
Well...
What?
Free money is worthless.
Bingo, 100%. That's honestly why I posted that tweet the other day. I was like, Bitcoin is greater than the US dollar because Bitcoin does not have all the bullshit that the US dollar has.
Well, certainly if I had one Bitcoin, it would be worth more than $1 US.
Yes, very much so. Well, it's built-in scarcity. You can't just print more Bitcoin. It's like, no, there's a set amount. There's a limit on it. You can't print. It doesn't have like 600-700 if you combine all of them dumbass politicians who are promising people free shit every year, and then printing endless amounts of money that we don't have. Basically mortgaging off our future to maintain political power today. But Bitcoin doesn't have that.
But let's just take Bitcoin for a minute. If Bitcoin could stabilize a little bit, would you rather get paid in US dollars or paid in Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, 100%.
And I feel the same way, except Bitcoin is so up and down right now.
Like it's volatile, but so here's do you use Cash App at all?
Yeah.
So like I would say about 20% of my fitness clients pay me through Cash App. And what Cash App does that's really cool is with like one click, you can take any money you have in your Cash App holding account. You can just instantly buy cryptocurrency with it. Yep. So basically, after I set aside the tax man's money, I take half the revenue that I get paid from the clients and I actually invest it in Bitcoin automatically each month.
Yeah, there's a number of apps now that give you the option of buying crypto. Like even PayPal does now, I think.
Well, I think it's just the future, and what happens is the early adopters take all the hits, and then once it stabilizes, this is anything. This is what happened with Netflix. It's what happened with Amazon. Basically, the little guys take all the hits at first, but they get all the big rewards, and then the big fish are just like, okay, now that it's stable, we're gonna go in and we're gonna put some real money in this thing. So that's why I'm just continuously
digital currency, decentralized currency is the future.
It is. It's got built-in government. Basically, it's just free of any corruption. Basically, if you think about it,
it's free of government influence. And if you take a look at, not to get into a political discussion, but even what's going on in the United States right now, it's like, everyone's savings is being devalued right now because of inflation.
Yeah. Well, dude, you could spend your entire life, and if all you had was, and this is why I tell people, like me, I'm not going to give my freaking portfolio online, but I've got some money in precious metals. I've got some money in stocks. I have some pure cash, and I've got some digital currencies. I'm around the board because if all you do is just put your money in cash and collect little, first off, you're not going to collect that much interest off your money.
You make nothing in interest.
You make
holding it in the bank, you make nothing. Investing in savings bonds, you make nothing. Make your money work and certainly have a certain amount of liquid asset. Like I've got plenty of liquid asset, and then I've got plenty spread around and all kinds of bullshit just trying to make it work for me. And I've made way more doing that than I would have letting it sit in a bank somewhere where they're paying me less than 1% or 1%. Meanwhile, they're using my money to lend out to other places and making multiples percent.
Exactly.
Money out. Bullshit.
Exactly. No, that is 1,000% correct.
And then charging me ATM fees if I want to pull my money out, or telling me that there's limits on the amount of money I can pull out. Fuck you.
You know what? That was actually why Bernie, even though, over time and you really learn he's just kind of a crazy dude. He caught people's. Well, he's a crazy old socialist, yeah, but what he got people on was the fact that he actually understood what banks do to fuck people, and he called them out on it. And because what's that?
He wants the pudding.
He wants the pudding. Yeah, exactly. But no, that was what I thought. Like the 2016 election would have been a way more interesting scenario if it was two populists running against each other as opposed to a very clear corporate goon on one side. But let's not talk politics.
Well, don't say them. If you say the name 3 times, then you get suicided. So don't do that.
Oh, I do not feel like getting suicided. In fact, I've lived a long, healthy life, and I want to keep living. So if anything happens to me, I didn't do it. Okay, let's turn the page here.
Just remember, Christmas lights don't hang themselves, and neither did Jeffrey Epstein. Dude,
here's the thing. Okay, if we're gonna go with Epstein for a second here, like, remember when the government used to actually try to lie to us and try to do cover-ups?
They don't even pretend anymore.
Like, seriously, so if you want to believe that Epstein killed himself, what you would have to believe is that in a maximum security prison where his cell was basically, he was in protective custody, his cell had a camera inside the cell, there was like roving guards at any given time. I think they took, like, normally when they put people who are on suicide watch, they put you in a position where you can't hurt yourself or others. But magically, the only 2 cops on guard were asleep during a power outage, which meant that all the footage was just magically gone. So, I don't know.
I already know what happened.
Oh, dude, I think he was given... here's the thing. I think he was suicided. I think he was given the option, either you do it or we do it for you.
Nah, I already know what happened.
What happened? Tell me what happened.
It was Omicron. It was Omicron.
Omicron. Oh, Omicron. There you go. It was the Omicron variant.
And Omicron was the name of Hillary Clinton's assassin. Anyway.
Oh. I don't know, man. See, here's the thing. Why would she do that? Well, who is that guy, Anthony Weiner, who was basically the person who was responsible for the leaked emails? I'm wondering how Epstein, who had all that money, who could have paid for some level of protection on the inside, got offed, whereas Weiner is still free in a fucking jogging suit, out and about, probably sending some dick pics from a burner account right now.
Well, and that's really what happened. They weren't leaked. What happened was he got caught sexting some 14-year-old again. The FBI confiscated his laptop as part of the investigation, and then when they were going through it, they were like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
No wonder why the FBI doesn't like to talk about dirty laptops anymore.
Anyway, yeah, it's very peculiar, right? And it's basically isn't there a law like you can't lie to Congress, but Congress can lie to you guilt-free?
That's all Congress does is lie.
Oh, dude. What we see, and we're going to get to some professional wrestling because that's a way more fun topic. What we see on TV, that's pro wrestling. It's bad pro wrestling. It's just bad theater. It's just bad promos the entire time. Like the end outcome is predetermined before anybody steps foot on.
They win and we get fucked.
100%, man, which is why invest in cryptocurrency, cash the fuck out, and move out of country. Everybody's talking about, yeah, I'm going to move to this part. I'm like, dude, I'm eyeballing Bali. I'm eyeballing another country to move to.
You're going to buy Bali?
Well, I don't know if I got buy Bali money, but I think I've got buy a significantly larger house in Bali and have people work for me type money. I think I can do that.
I have enough to buy Bali and Monopoly money, and the way that our government is currently spending money, pretty soon my Monopoly money will be worth more. So
invest in crypto. Like if you're seeing all these big companies, people buy 400, 500, 600 million in cash to buy Bitcoin.
Or follow William Devane and invest in gold.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that so? All those championship belts are basically what you did with your precious silver money. Is that what you're saying?
Nah, this is my play money right here.
That's your play money? Yeah, I mean, dude, that's some pretty badass play money. Now, for the people who have never watched this, how many belts do you have?
Oh, man. Well, I've got the classic Winged Eagle WWF Championship belt. I've got the Intercontinental Championship. I've got the big gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. You have the TNT Championship.
I have the AEW TNT Championship. I've got the WCW United States Championship. I have the Universal Championship that we got when we were at SummerSlam in Las Vegas.
That's a beautiful belt, actually. I must say, out of all the modern championship belts, that's probably my favorite one.
I've got the WWE Championship belt. I've got the Attitude Era WWF World Championship belt. I've got the original version 1 NXT Championship belt. I've got what else do I got? I think I got one more that I'm drawing a blank on.
The Did you mention the Intercontinental Championship belt? Okay.
Actually, as a little surprise for you, Santa Claus may be bringing you a little something, brother.
What, brother?
Because I may have gotten my hands on the classic WWF World Tag Team Championship belts.
Oh, snaps.
I feel like I need one and you need one.
Yeah, because that'd be fucking awesome.
I feel like it's needed.
It is needed. Because I mean, is there a place where you could actually train to wrestle in your new spot?
Yeah, I mean there is. I think that there's a place. There's a couple places, but it's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah, because for me, it's 10 minutes from my house. Yeah. So
well, you're in a little bit more of a populated area.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's like 4 major professional wrestling schools in SoCal that I know of, based off what I heard. So there's Millennium Professional Wrestling, that's the Valley. Hey, Seductive Steel. There's Knox Factory or Knox Pro. That's for Kishi's school.
Nice.
Then there is Santino Bros, which is closer to I want to say Long Beach type area.
It's not Santino Marella, is it?
No, it's actually Joey Chaos's school. Did you ever watch XPW?
I've heard of Joey Chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's that's where he is, and then Level Up Pro Wrestling. I think that's where that's in San Diego. I believe that's where Dominic Mysterio trained.
Nice.
So yeah, those are like the 4 big ones. I'm pretty sure there's probably other wrestling schools, but those are the ones that I know of. So it's spread out. Like pro wrestling is making a comeback, but it's not one of those things where professional wrestling schools are as prominent as Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools. Because you can drive down the street and you got 5 different jiu-jitsu schools, but
there's 6 of them around here.
Should I call you 2-belt? Like, you're not 2-chain, you're 2-belt.
Well, hang on. Keep going.
And then in all actuality, like all the oh snaps. Let's we should look it up at what time. Who's the person who held the most consecutive belts at one time?
Well, I mean that's a loaded question because if you remember you remember the J Crown?
The J Crown. I do not remember that one.
So it was actually on American television back in the 90s in WCW. It was like a collection of all the light, heavyweight, and cruiserweight championships.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but it was like 8 different belts, if I recall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows what that's actually an interesting trivia question. Who has held the most simultaneous championships as a pro wrestler?
Yeah, because I mean, would it be Kenny Omega? Because at one point he had so many of those freaking belts before he bailed. Because he had the AEW belt, the Impact belt. Didn't he have the AAA belt as well?
Yeah, the AAA belt, yeah.
And then is there another one that I'm missing right now?
No, well, that was at the time Impact was using 2 belts. They were using the old TNA belt, and then they were using the Impact belt.
Got it. And then basically, Christian Cage took the belt from Omega. That way he could drop it back at Impact, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And speaking of belts, man, dude, like freaking Tyrus is rocking that NWA TV Championship belt like a freaking warrior, bro.
Dude, I never was into Brodus Clay.
Yeah.
But Tyrus, and I'm not just talking about the stuff he does on TV. Like, I've been watching some NWA Power, like him and Austin Idol. Like, I'm digging Tyrus these days.
Yeah, dude,
But the thing I dig the most about Tyrus is that anytime he does TV, he's got that World Television Championship belt on his shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And I respect somebody that he wants to be the world television champion. Great. Love me some Tyrus.
Yeah, dude. No, so that's one thing. It's like I always loved dudes who carried the belt with them. That's why I was not a fan of Tim Sylvia with how he did it when he was the UFC champion, because I think I saw the dude at a bar and freaking we're talking like he's eating a cheeseburger while he's got the belt and like ketchup and mustard is spilling on the freaking title belt.
Dude, you remember when Dan Severn did his UFC fights when he was the NWA champion? He was announced as the NWA champion, had the freaking belt on him. I was like, damn.
That's so cool, dude.
In UFC. I was like, obviously early outlaw day UFC, but it was still like, I remember he was at my high school because the NWA did a local show at my high school. He came in with the UFC super fight belt.
Yeah.
Got to see that freaking bad boy up. I was like, beautiful belt.
Dude, Dan Severn's probably one of the coolest guys I've met. I met him. I was in a high school wrestling movie.
That's
when
right.
I was 21.
Yep.
Yeah, so he played the head coach. I was the lead in that movie, and then I remember I'm like, this is kind of missing something. And then I was like, all right, how can I weasel my way into getting body slammed by freaking Dan Severn on camera? And then I actually wrote that scene out. And then I came to regret it, but we ended up doing that take 4 times and freaking Dan Severn body slammed me. So,
you know what the most impressive thing about Dan Severn is?
What's his mustache?
That fucking mustache, dude.
Oh, that thing is feathered and lethal, baby. Like, that thing is so cool. And dude, actually, I would say I don't know if he still has a gym in Coldwater, Michigan, or is it Clearwater or Coldwater, Michigan?
That was Clearwater, but I could.
Clearwater, Michigan. His gym was so freaking cool, man, because not only was it a professional wrestling gym, but it was also an MMA gym. It had like full weights, very nice stuff. We did filming in there for another movie I was in.
There's something quaint about going back and watching like UFC 3.
Dude, Severn was like, he was just such a fucking badass, man. And
It was so outlaw.
it was very much outlaw. There was something grainy and cool about it though, because now it's a sport,
But now
right?
it's regulated, and it's there's
They got rules and shit.
Like I
Well,
remember UFC 3 when it was I forget the name. He was like 5'10". He was like 190-pound little karate guy going up against the freaking 6'7", 400-pound sumo guy, and he freaking broke his hand, hitting him repeatedly in the back of the head.
oh, you couldn't eye gouge or fish hook, but you wouldn't get suspend or punch to the groin. You wouldn't get disqualified. What would happen was you'd have to give your money, like 10% of your money, to the guy. So you could kick him in the nuts. You just had to pay for that shot. So that was just the epic days, and like. Because you and I both came from a traditional martial arts background, and seeing that was like, oh shit, I better learn how to grapple because.
Well, but that was the charm, though, right? It was like the whole original concept was boxer versus kickboxer, sumo versus karate, Brazilian jiu-jitsu versus professional wrestling, like Greco-Roman versus take your pick, Krav Maga. It was just like that was the original allure, and now it's all about everyone has to be well rounded, and you got to have a stand up game and a back and a ground game, and it's just like
It went from being a fight to being a sport. Now, what I will say is though, there used to be so many mismatches, especially when it was just in the mainstream, and I think that's why it became well rounded really fast, because
they had to.
outside of the main event, like, you were seeing just freaking people getting mopped, buried, like unanimous decisions. There would be like maybe one or two a card. Now you got like maybe one or two finishes a card, because guys are just like, well, fuck this. I'm not going to risk getting knocked out myself or get submitted myself.
Well, that was like the first Severn Shamrock fight, where they were just freaking circling each other for minutes on end, and it was like, what the hell?
I believe that was actually the second fight, because that was the one that Dan
I thought
won.
it was the first.
No, because the first one, Dan got caught in a guillotine early. So that's why the second fight, he was very much more cautious, because he knew that Ken could catch him in a guillotine. So, but we have 30 minutes of show left, and we got to give the people what they want to see, Steve. We need to wrap up the Intercontinental Championship. So, why don't you, to refresh everybody's memory, tell us the Final Four?
The Final Four.
The Final Four.
We started with 89. We ranked 64.
Yep.
Down to 32, 16, 8, and now the Final Four. The Final Four, 2 matches. Macho Man Randy Savage versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. And Bret the Hitman Hart versus the bad guy Razor Ramon.
Yes. Yeah, so just 1 second. Bad guy Razor Ramon was somebody who I thought could be the sleeper pick to win the whole thing if things would have went his direction. But
the 7 seed.
7 seed. Well, because for me, I was like, well, yeah, even though he left to go to WCW, he was one of the guys who made the Intercontinental Championship like a main event belt. HBK was also that way. He made the Intercontinental Championship the main event belt. So which match do you want to cover first?
Let's go with Bret Razor.
Bret the Hitman Hart versus Razor Ramon. This is actually tough, but easy at the same time for me. It's tough because Razor Ramon ends up, he becomes the Intercontinental Champion, main events that belt, has some amazing matches with the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
In a ladder match, right?
Yep. That championship, though, he was so main event, so over, that he ended up becoming a major draw that freaking which was considered one of the two biggest acquisitions in wrestling at that time. He was one of Vince McMahon's biggest stars, and he managed to be that because of the Intercontinental Championship. Now, on the flip side of that coin, Bret Hart elevated to the championship status because you could say the same thing about Bret on the other side, but he also achieved the World Heavyweight Championship. He also acquired a very, very, very big contract from WCW because he was widely considered one of the biggest stars of professional wrestling at that time. But he goes to WCW, does not get over. Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, is very much over. So where is it lying for you, Steve? What are you thinking?
So I can't really hold not winning the world title against Razor Ramon because he was being blocked by who? By Bret Hart.
Yeah, very much so. Yep.
So I got to go back to my criteria. So promo skills, I'm just going to give that to Razor.
Yeah.
Bret Hart was not a great promo. Match quality, got to give that to Bret. How did they win it? So Razor won his first when Shawn Michaels vacated his second. He was one of the final two in the Battle Royal on Monday Night Raw with Rick the Model Martel, came back the next week and won it. And then he won it back from Diesel after he dropped it to Diesel. And then he won his third back from, was it Goldust or Jarrett? Either way. And then the fourth one he won when Shawn Michaels had to vacate it again. And then he beat Shane Dean Douglas.
Yep.
In the In Your Houses. So not a real who's who of who he beat. No real epic. He won it, in these fashions. I think his losses meant more. He lost it. He lost it to Diesel. That helped Diesel get over. He lost it to Jeff Jarrett. Helped Jeff Jarrett get over. He dropped it to Goldust. Helped Goldust get over.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more there with in terms of who he helped. Hart, on the other hand, the way he won it was epic both times.
Yeah.
Perfect at SummerSlam 91 and then Rowdy Piper at WrestleMania 8. His losses didn't really do much. He lost it to the Mountie right before Royal Rumble 92.
Yep.
And then he lost it to Davey Boy Smith, but Davey Boy Smith held the title for about 2 months before he dropped it right to Shawn Michaels. But that match did main event SummerSlam 92 at Wembley Stadium. So as much as we talk about the Intercontinental title being elevated to main event status, it was only main eventing a pay-per-view when it was Bret Hart and the British Bulldog. So me, here's the thing. Bret Hart, if you look at post Hulk Hogan WWF, there were many attempts at replacing Hulk Hogan. There was, Lex Luger. There was, Yokozuna. There was, there was Diesel, right? But it ended up being Bret. And he ended up being the standard bearer for that company. He went from tag team specialist to multi-time world champion and face of the company. What gave them the belief that he was able to do it? Those Intercontinental title runs.
Yeah.
So for me, I gotta give the nod to Bret here over the bad guy.
You know what? That is where I was leaning also. We just had to give Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall, his flowers, but I believe that Bret Hart makes it to the finals.
Bret the Hitman Hart makes it to the final. And now
yes, he does.
The Macho Man Randy Savage versus the 3-time Intercontinental Champion, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
This is the one that's going to crush my soul. And I think we both know what we have to do here. But I want to hear your thoughts first.
So in my mind, I mean, there's a similar argument to be made for Bret Hart that there was for Shawn Michaels, and that tag team specialist ended up becoming world champion, semi-face of the company. It was his Intercontinental title runs that helped with that. How he won it, he won it from the British Bulldog. Okay, that was a little surprising, only because the thought is that the match at Wembley Stadium was about making the Bulldog. It ended up being more about making Bret.
Yeah.
He drops it to Marty Jannetty. He wins it back from Marty Jannetty, and then he loses that. He gets stripped of it, and then he loses his third one. He wins it from Jeff Jarrett, and then he loses it because he got beat up by that Marine in Syracuse. So in terms of how he won it and lost it, there's really not a whole lot impressive there with Shawn Michaels. Now, he was a fine Intercontinental champion. I think it meant a lot in terms of his career progression.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you've got Macho Man, who, he wins it by, a little dirtiness in the Boston Garden over Tito.
Yep.
And he ends up losing it at the, arguably one of the
greatest matches of all time.
Well, I mean, so the only other match I could think of that might be equal to it would probably be Shawn Michaels Undertaker WrestleMania 25.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So really here it's Shawn was a fine Intercontinental champion. It meant a lot to Shawn. In terms of what Shawn did with it, in terms of building others, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Whereas with Macho Man, there was an attempt to help make the Dragon there. And then there was what it meant to him in the context of Hogan needed to go away. Who was going to be the face of the company? Well, it's Macho Man.
Yep.
So for me, it's the Macho Man over Shawn Michaels.
You made a compelling point because I was actually leaning HBK, but by like a needle hair. But you are correct because he elevated others. His run as IC champion and his match with Steamboat is probably what put him over to a point where they could consider him for the championship, because you're replacing Hulk freaking Hogan at that time. That's who you're replacing. So, you know what? Oh, yeah. Macho Man to the finals. Oh, yeah.
Which now brings us to the end. The number 1 seeded Macho Man Randy Savage versus the number 3 seeded Bret the Hitman Hart.
Fuck. All right. So we've covered both guys, right? Mm-hmm. Both of them made some people. Both of them had championship runs. I would make the argument that Macho Man's was more, because they both had to replace Hogan in a weird way, but one of which was Bret Hart was essentially like, hey, we don't have Hogan anymore. You got to be the guy. And in the midst of this steroid scandal, we can't put it on a big guy. So not only are you replacing Hulk Hogan, but you're really replacing like the entire makeup of what people consider to be the world champion, which would not have happened without those IC title runs, because you go from tag team specialist to singles to IC champion to having a great run. Macho Man had to replace Hulkamania when Hulkamania was at its freaking finest, at its top hour. We're talking like you had 12 channels on TV and Hulk Hogan occupied 3 or 4 of them. And that's the guy you're replacing. And you're talking about a legitimate icon at his prime. And I think Macho Man did a better job in comparison one over the other. But in fairness, Macho Man did not have to deal, Randy Savage didn't have to deal with Hulk Hogan on the other, on the competitor's rival, drawing millions and millions of viewers every single week. So I'm leaning Macho Man, but I want to hear what you say.
So the question for me is one epic Intercontinental title run greater than 2 outstanding Intercontinental title runs? So let's go back to my criteria. Promo skills, let's not even go there. It's the Macho Man.
Macho Man, probably one of the best on the sticks ever. But yeah, go ahead.
Match quality. As much as I love Macho Man's matches, I got to give the nod to Bret there.
I could see that. I would slightly disagree with that, but I could see how you landed there.
No, like I said, I'm just giving it's a nod.
I'm right there with you. Whereas I'm a nod this way, you're a nod that way. So yeah, not a problem there.
How did they win it? Here's where it gets interesting because, like I said, Macho had the cheap win over Tito Santana in the Boston Garden.
Yeah.
Bret had an epic match with Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam. Perfect was hurt. His back was messed up, and he wanted to do the job for Bret. And then he got another chance to be put over by a legend in Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8, where they had to get the title off Bret to give it back to Piper to give it back to Bret to give him that nod again. So I got to give the nod to Bret there. How did they lose it? Well, we already said one of the arguably the greatest or one of the top 2 best matches in WrestleMania history with the Macho Man, or lost to the Mountie, that main event Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam 92 where he put over the Bulldog. Tie-ish?
I can't call it a tie-ish, bro. Not an ish, because here's why I would say, not to interject because you're making some amazing points here, right? Macho Man was Steamboat. Macho Man they basically stole the show, legitimately stole the show. People thought it was going to be a good match. No one was thinking it was going to be a bad match. People were excited. But what sold the event was Macho Man, was Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3. That's what sold it. Now, everybody talks about the Slam, as the biggest moment of that event, but when they talk about what the best match of that event was, it was clearly Steamboat Macho Man. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
To this day, and we're talking that happened, WrestleMania 3 happened when? I want to say 82, 83? 88. Okay,
I'm sorry, 87.
87. Okay, WrestleMania 3 happens in 87. It's 2021, almost 2022, and that match is still the standard people call it like the chain wrestling standard. People call it
that match stands the test of time, as does Bret's.
It does. Yes, you are correct.
All Bret's stuff looks good even now, right? I mean, they're both technicians. Their shit looked good,
Bret was the excellence of execution. In fact, the thing to be said about Bret, to your point there, was it wasn't his amazing promo skills, because he really didn't have the best promo skills. What really won him over internationally was how good he was in the ring. Like, that's what really made people like him.
So when it comes to this question, and we're talking again in the context of the Intercontinental Championship, not who was the better wrestler, right? At the point Hogan was leaving in 88, WrestleMania 4, and WWF was a babyface champion oriented organization. They needed a replacement for Hogan. The Warrior wasn't there yet. Macho Man was positioned. He held the Intercontinental title as a heel, right? So the Intercontinental title, I'm sure, helped, but I don't know if that was necessarily the end all be all. He was a personality. He was big. He looked good. He was a good promo. Now go over to Hart. He ends up becoming the face of the company from a small tag team wrestler with no promo skills. But how did he prove himself? It was those Intercontinental title runs. No one's going to convince me otherwise.
Yep.
The match with Perfect, the match with Roddy Piper, those are what put him on the map to be able to become not just the world champion, but the banner, the face of the company post Hulk Hogan, which Macho Man never was. So for me, and it again is one. You got one epic title run versus two outstanding ones. I'm leaning towards Brett.
All right, you know what? Since it's the context of the IC champion,
do we need to open this up to the universe to break a tie?
No, because once again, you and I have done a lot of convincing to one another. Mm-hmm. And considering we are talking in the context of the IC title runs, what did the IC title mean to each guys? A lot, but it definitely meant significantly more to Bret Hart. So I would say that the winner of the 64-man Intercontinental Championship is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart
is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, beating my favorite wrestler of all time, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Mine as well.
So we are unbiased people here, so Bret Hart wins it.
Our pre-tournament favorite, the number 1 seed, gets to the final but gets knocked off by the excellence of execution. And you know what's funny is again, it's all about seeding and how the tournament plays off, because depending on how it works out, if Bret runs into somebody else earlier in the tournament, maybe he gets knocked.
Dude, check it out. Well, Seductive Steel is Canadian, so he's just going crazy in the chat right now. Oh, he's loving it. It's just nothing but Canadian flags up in that bitch.
That's what it's all about right there, baby.
But no, dude, like, you know what? I got to give you credit, because you handled the seeding to this, and there was maybe like 4 or 5 upsets the whole time.
There weren't any severe upsets here.
Exactly. There's no severe upsets, and the only upsets were more like based off the seeding itself, not the actual placing, right?
Yeah, I don't think that we missed much in the seeding. I think we might have ranked Owen a little high, just because I think that's more based on potential.
Exactly.
But considering, he passed early, and, we had a couple of upsets, but nothing that was too crazy. But
dude,
what do we get in the final? 1 versus 3.
1 versus 3. That's very good seeding.
Our final 4 was 1, 3, 7, and Shawn Michaels was 5 because
5, yeah,
4, yeah. So that's pretty good.
That is a great tournament. So what will the next tournament be? You know what?
Stuff.
Here's what I want to do the next tournament, and let me know, because the next show, we're actually going to have a really badass independent wrestler she's gonna be joining us the next time. So I'm gonna see what she's cool with in terms of doing a tiered list, because she's got a pretty good career ahead of her, so I don't think she wants to catch any heat. But
it doesn't tournaments, right? I mean, there's so many different things that we could do, and I know, as we've talked through these episodes, we talked about things like worst gimmick of all time.
Here's what I want to do. I know it's very topical, but WWE has released so much talent lately. And I would love to do a tiered list where it's like, what were they thinking? And then the lowest one would be not like good riddance, would be more like mutually beneficial, to where it's like, hey, both those guys just don't make sense together. It's best if they move on, like that kind of thing. That's what I'm thinking next.
And I like that. And then I have one other idea.
What's your idea? Because this was your idea, so this was your baby.
Based on whenever we do it, if you're interested, develop a 10 or 12 match WWE versus AEW Supercard.
Oh, I like that. And do you want to simulate it on one of the video games, like create the characters, or do you want to actually just run the tournament like we did now?
Man. We could do the analysis, man. We could even do it based on reality, because let's say that they were going to book a show like that. Obviously, one promotion win 10 and the other wins 2. Like, it would probably be a very even split. So where do you make concessions? Where would you see a match actually like Roman Reigns versus Hangman? It's like, okay, well,
I think, yeah, we would cover that. I think it would be because Hangman's really goddamn good. If you,
he's not the tribal chief.
He's not the tribal chief.
Universal champion.
The tribal chief, the head of the table. No, man, like I know you had like a work meeting that day, and I think I discussed this, but I went to the Dragon's Lair gym, which is where Flex Lewis's gym, so like multiple time 212 Mr. Olympia. I'm lifting weights, and then all of a sudden I look to my right, and there he is, Roman Reigns, just like with a whole crew of people just lifting, and yeah, man, like even though he was like a nice guy, same mannerisms. So I think when he's on the sticks, he's just himself dialed up to like 25.
And when you told me what had happened, what was my first question to you?
Did you ask him to be on the podcast?
No. Well, yes, I did ask that. But what was the first question?
I forget right now. I'd have to look back.
Did you acknowledge him?
Well, clearly I did, because I was just like, I acknowledged him. I think I was just like, hey man, I drove 4 hours to see you wrestle. Could you let John survive longer than 5 minutes?
Was Paul behind him the whole time doing this?
Paul, no, I was upset by that. Paul was not there. His bodybuilding trainer was with him, probably his personal assistant. Seductive Steel says, did I geek out? Not really, because like certain things to me are sacred, like the weight room. Yeah. So for me, it was just more like, but what I will say is he kept on looking over to see what I was doing. I caught like glimpses of that. So then it was like, all right, man, normally I'll do 20 pull-ups, but I'm like, fuck it, we're doing 25 today.
Tribal Chief is over
Fucking there. Tribal Chief is right there. I'm not going to look like a little bitch in front of Roman Reigns.
tear your freaking lats. I can do 40.
Well, here's the thing, and it's on video on one of the YouTube videos. You and I were live doing our SummerSlam recap, and I think I hit it so hard, and I didn't drink enough water that day. Remember, I had the biggest cramp during the actual podcast, where I was like, aha. I had to back away. But no, I didn't geek out. I may have marked out a little bit, but it wasn't anything like, oh my God, I'm your biggest fan. Could I get a picture? It was more like, hey man.
I don't get like flustered by stuff like that. You remember when we were walking through the other hotel that we walked by $1 Million Man, and it was just like, oh, this is $1 Million Man. Hey.
Yeah, but dude, you and I were both like, the man's just trying to drink his coffee.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Leave him alone.
Them for pictures and autographs, and we're just like, oh, there's $1 Million Man.
Well, dudes had like full-blown autograph books. I remember one dude like pulled to the encyclopedia. Yep. It was almost like a scavenger hunt. Mr. DiBiase, can I get a picture with you? Will you sign right here underneath, sir? Thank you so much. But seriously, but to that fan's credit, that encyclopedia, if he can get all the autographs or as many as the living autographs signed as possible, that book could be worth a lot of fucking money.
Sure.
But me, there's certain things I keep sacred where I'm just like, dude, the guy just wants to drink his coffee and eat his breakfast sandwich. Leave him alone. And
hey,
what's up?
Question for you.
So, I might have an answer.
Actually, 2 questions. One, what this day one pay-per-view?
Yeah.
So I don't understand the point being that the Royal Rumble's right around the corner. So we're basically on the road to WrestleMania now.
Yeah. So is it day 1 to WrestleMania, or are they trying to say that they're recalibrating the company?
No, it's day one. It's day 1 of the year because it's on January 1st.
Got it.
Right, but right now, one match is announced: Biggie versus Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship, which is
so it's a triple.
Yeah, it's designed so that Kevin takes the pin because Kevin's leaving. So yeah, he's gone. He's going to AEW. But,
now, do they put the okay? Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, go ahead. Do they put the belt?
No, what I was going to ask is, are they going to put the belt on, or put the title, I should say, on Rollins, or is it?
Well, I think this is designed to make it so that Owens takes the pin, and then I think we get Big E versus Seth straight up at the Royal Rumble. What do you think about that?
That's the logical point. So basically Rollins misses another shot, but he doesn't actually lose. They can keep that feud going because in all actuality, those two are the biggest stars on Raw, and you don't want to have them go a head-to-head collision on, for lack of a better word, a throwaway, or lack of a better term, I should say, a throwaway pay-per-view. You want to build up the big pay-per-view. So it's like, hey, you may have won the match, but you didn't beat me. So then you go to the next big pay-per-view. Boom, they have it out.
So I think that's pretty easy in terms of predicting the path of the WWE title, at least through the Royal Rumble. The Universal title picture is very strange now because there's no match announced for day one yet, but Sami Zayn wins the Battle Royal to get the title shot. But then they announced that Brock Lesnar's suspension has been lifted. So what do you think we get at day one? What do you think we get at the Royal Rumble? And what do you think we get at WrestleMania with Roman?
With Roman, if Sami Zayn won the Royal Rumble, they're probably going to feed him to Reigns because Sammy's been there for a while. They probably want to do right by him. So I'd say day one, him versus Reigns. He's not going to win. It's going to be similar to Finn Balor or the Demon Finn Balor at Extreme Rules because if Reigns is going to lose, he's not losing it until WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that we're not really selling pay-per-views here, but I don't see where Reigns versus Zayn draws anything.
Here's the thing. I think Reigns is so over right now as like the biggest star that him just being there is big enough. Then the co-main event is clearly going to be Rollins, Owens, Biggie. That's enough of a draw right now because those guys are names I'd pay to see. Actually, I think it's going to be a great match. That triple. So in my opinion, I think they're going to use this as an opportunity to put Sammy over to maybe not pull him over, but maybe elevate him a little bit just so that they can lose a lot of the stigma because WWE is getting a lot of hate these days for all the releases and all that stuff. Sammy's been there for a while. I think they'll give him a good match, but Roman's gonna squash him at the end.
I don't think Sammy even gets a title match. I think they're going to figure some way he's going to lose it. He's going to, be forced to put up the title shot against like Brock. What I'm really interested in is do you get Roman versus Brock at day one, the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania? I have no clue.
I think if you are going to bring his cousin, aka The Rock, in, then what makes the most sense to me would be him and Zayn day one because you do right by a mid-card guy who's been there for a while, and maybe it elevates him because, Zayn's good on the mic. He's a great heel. Maybe that gives him something. Then the following, you said Royal Rumble. You give that to Lesnar so that we could close that up. And then But wait a minute. But the winner of the Royal Rumble, do they get to choose which title they compete for? Okay. You win the Royal Rumble. It's like, do I want to take on the undefeated Roman Reigns, or do I want to go after the or the WWE Championship? If you're thinking as a logical competitor against a guy who, on paper I've got a better shot at beating and winning the title from. So you take that route. Winner of the Royal Rumble takes on Biggie, and then I think you do Rock versus Reigns at WrestleMania.
See, I don't think we're getting Rock Reigns this year.
If it doesn't happen this year, you're never getting it. It's never going to happen if it doesn't happen this year.
So then final question on this topic. We're 6 weeks out from the Royal Rumble. Who the hell is positioned to win the Royal Rumble right now?
I have no clue. Zero clue right now.
The only thing I could possibly see is Reigns avoiding Lesnar for as long as possible, and then Lesnar has to win the Royal Rumble to get the title match at WrestleMania. But
that's possible.
But Lesnar shouldn't be the one to beat him. But if you have Reigns beat Lesnar again, then the mystique's kind of off Lesnar at that point.
All right, let me ask you this. And we've gone over it before, but this was a couple months back. So not to cut you off, but
no, please.
I'm 1,000% curious as to what you feel about this. Who on the SmackDown roster do you think is ready for that shot?
Nobody.
Nobody. Okay. So
my thought is that they would eventually position Drew McIntyre to be fed to Roman at the Royal Rumble. That's what McIntyre always felt like, a Royal Rumble level opponent for Reigns.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, they kept Drew out of that battle royal for the title shot.
Yeah.
So there was at least an attempt at protecting him, but there's no one on the SmackDown roster right now. As a matter of fact, there's no one on the Raw roster right now that's potentially positioned. They've beaten Finn Balor up enough at this point that it ain't going to be him.
Yeah.
Originally I thought, okay, get him to Raw, give him a little bit of a break. No, they had him lose to Xavier Woods. I mean, there's nobody left.
Yeah.
The only and you're waiting for either Brock to come back or to get the match with The Rock. But even if you get the match with The Rock, they're not dropping the title to The Rock. So eventually you're going to get that match. Eventually you're going to get the Lesnar match. He should beat them both. So then who's going to be the person that's made? It's like the Highlanders, beheading everyone, and he's got all the power. Eventually, somebody's got to cut the head off of Connor McLeod. Who's it going to be? And I think it's going to be as underwhelming as watching Duncan be the one to do it. It's going to be like,
dude. Here's the thing, bro.
Cesaro.
Here's the thing. I think Reigns is so over right now, and he's basically like the biggest thing at the company. I don't even think the thought of him losing based on the booking is in anyone's head right now.
Well, and so they book him correctly, but there's no one else that's on a similar lower trajectory right now.
Yeah.
That could then be elevated to be ready to take him on. Whoever gets pushed into the title match with him, unless it's a Lesnar or a Rock, is going to be kind of shoehorned in there and just kind of come out of nowhere. There's no Daniel Bryan lurking around.
Yeah.
I doubt they're going to go back to Edge. So who's left? It's going to be an interesting 6 weeks leading up to the Royal Rumble. Like the day one pay-per-view, it's going to be what it is. It's going to be Royal Rumble times. What they do between now and then is going to be very telling in terms of who's being positioned to challenge Reigns and what's their plan with Biggie and the WWE Championship.
That's very interesting. Now we have 5 minutes left. Rather than go into trying to predict WWE destroying themselves,
we got time.
What I want to talk about is how good was MJF and MJF CM Punk, where they basically just took cheap shots at each other for 20 minutes.
PG Punk.
Oh my God! So they left literally no stone unturned in that promo, and part of me was like.
So I completely agree. Did you see their interaction the other night?
Yeah, it's another one of those things where they're playing it just freaking right.
I think the problem is they went from Punk. No, don't get me wrong. In isolation, the 20-minute long Punk MJF back and forth was the best 20 minutes I've seen in years. They went from Punk just kind of not shaking his hand and walking out, kind of not saying anything, to a 20-minute long promo where they were just lodging missiles at each other, right? Or lobbing missiles at each other. Last night it was pretty good, but it was definitely a notch below what they did the week before.
Yeah. Well, you can't keep topping it, but what I will say is MJF has played it right because a heel's job is to essentially play keep away with the audience, right? Mm-hmm. We want to see him get his ass kicked. We want to see him get his ass beat by Punk. Tony Khan wants to sell some pay-per-views. So what they got to do is they got to slow roll it, but I think it's going to get good. I think it's going to continue to be good.
I think they jumped too soon into the long-form 20-minute promo back and forth. I think the best thing they could do now, my opinion, and I know it's counterproductive to the thought of those two going against each other, is for MJF to not say too much for the next couple of weeks, but just be a pain in Punk's ass.
Yeah.
Interfere in his match, be talking shit about him on commentary, keep them away, and then maybe get into another long form when they've had a chance to kind of reset and think of some new material. I mean, him talking about killing Punk's dog was kind of like, the other week was good. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic. I can't wait to see the match. I think if you ask me, the way it should be booked would be MJF pins Punk dirty.
Yeah.
The ring, Wardlow interferes, whatever. But he should get that first tainted victory over Punk. So that way he has the bragging rights of being the first to beat him. Punk has the protection. And Punk can always come back and beat him later and get the win back. But
dude.
Bragging rights, and I think that helps make MJF, and that's how I would book this.
I think that's your next 6 months material right there, because you got two pay-per-views, and that's two monster fucking draws right there. Because, look, dude, it's a keep-away game. We get to see Punk kick MJF's ass a little bit. Oh, no, MJF cheats and beats Punk. We want to see Punk wins. Punk comes back. He beats the heel clean, but he does it in a way where both those guys get elevated. Where's the rubber match? Well, now Punk's got to go over here for a little bit, and MJF's got to go over there for a little bit, but that rubber match is lingering. So then you get to have both those guys continue to elevate, do their thing. One moment could bring it back together. Then you have the big pay-per-view that they have end of year. So there's 9 months of content right there.
And this is where having quarterly pay-per-views is to your benefit. And I think that it continues to go to the problem with WWE in that they are so overexposed. Everyone's so overexposed. There's no special matches anymore.
There's not.
On AEW, I can think of at least 10 different matches I want to see. And we're struggling to find out who's going to be challenging Reigns at WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, in just 3 months. 4 months. I can't think of a soul.
I can't think of it either. Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be used to elevate anybody, and I don't think the thought of Reigns losing or elevating anybody with that loss is keeping. It's not in anybody's head right now. So I think what traditionally what we think is heel loses at WrestleMania, elevates a babyface. Babyface gets a 2 to 3 month run. Heel squashes that. Okay, we're back to square one. We keep running. That's usually how the game is played. But
do you have Randy Orton win the Royal Rumble and challenge Reigns?
I mean, he's a star. It sells tickets. It's definitely somebody who's worthy of that, who knows. I mean, he's a multiple-time world champion.
Is there somebody like I'm not saying Goldberg, but somebody kind of like a Goldberg who's like a legend, they're not fully active, that can come back and have that impact, kind of like when Edge came back?
I'm trying to think, man, because all the guys are like kind of. The only one I can think of is The Rock. But
that's
its own thing. Let's see. Go back to the Attitude Era. I mean, Triple H just had that heart issue. He's not coming back anytime soon. You go a little bit deeper.
Do you give John Cena another go?
Because they have the rematch. I mean, if the only way I could see that working is you got to have Reigns drop one to Cena, and Cena doesn't need the win because he's part-time.
Well, because I'm talking about just who's going to be worthy of the WrestleMania slot.
Worthy of the WrestleMania spot. Orton's a good name. That's a good one.
The idea of I actually like the idea of Reigns Orton.
Honestly, they size wise, it's comparable. They both always put up really great matches.
You could have them. You could have in the lead up to it. You could have them just RKOing freaking Roman Reigns left and right. Just add.
Oh, dude, and because then you would have to have fucking Riddle back him up against the Usos because they have some history. So then you got some fucking Usos versus Riddle action, which could elevate Riddle even further. Because now you're talking about Riddle being in the periphery of the title picture, like he'll be around the championship level picture. Bro, it's there are some possibilities out there, but for now I think they're just gonna play it safe.
Here's what I think. I think between the lead up to WrestleMania and everything that we've been talking about, and what's going on with MJF and Punk, and then what's going on with Danielson and Hangman right now, the next 3, 4, 5 months are going to be very, very interesting, and they're going to give us a lot to talk about.
Yes, it is.
How's that for a segue into the finale?
The segue into the finale, baby. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to, and that is a beautiful championship right there, bro.
Still with the SummerSlam plates on it, I might add.
Damn, that's sexy. All right, so thank you all so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok at OJackSlammer. Instagram at Jack_Slammer_fitness. Follow us on Instagram at The Slammer Bros. Follow Steve Slammer at Steve_Slammer on the Instagrams. And feel free to DM us, talk to us, tell us what you think about what we think. Until next time, see you folks later. Bye-bye.